Hey, Hillary, how are you?
Good,
I'm so
how's
glad
it
you make it.
going?
I'm so
Yeah.
glad you could make it here.
Yeah.
We're excited, because I think you might be the first one to actually stop by and take a look at our facility, and we just moved in, and I'm just happy you're here.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to be the first person to see it all.
Cool. Well, I think we're going to see a couple different things today. We're going to get to see the print production, our QC process. We even printed something special for you as well.
Oh.
So why don't you come on back and we'll check it out.
All right, come on.
Come on.
All right, guys, come on.
Oh, before we go into the print room, I want to show you something. So we're in the hallway right outside the print production room, but we call this our Hall of Fame.
I see somebody that looks kind of famous and kind of cute.
Yeah, so a couple of them, but more importantly, I think Frank is up on our wall right here. We've got stickers from as many people that will send them to us, and if anybody hasn't sent us their stickers, they probably should. But we've collected these over the years and the different shows and things like that, and so we like to call this our Hall of Fame.
I like it. I see several familiar stickers, and if you guys are watching this and you have stickers, you need to send them here so we can add to this. Although everybody that has stickers, you're probably going to need more of these posters.
We've got room. We've got lots of walls in this place, and we'll probably put another poster up here. Maybe replace this production board and move that into the print room and put it there. And we'll just keep adding stickers until we've got enough. So send them over.
I like it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and walk into the print room now. And this is the print production room. We're going to keep that door closed. We're going to maintain temperature in here.
I was going to ask, it feels actually really nice in here. Kind of nice and warm, like perfect temperature.
Yeah, this room I think is a little warm. We keep it between 80 and 82 degrees just to make sure that all the print production's right where we need it.
Okay.
We found that that's kind of our ceiling in terms of the warmest we want to keep the room without messing up prints. But if we get any cooler, it still works. But if we get any warmer, we have problems.
Okay.
So, like I told you outside, we printed something special for you.
Oh.
So come on over here and check this out. So this here is our first dual extruder, or IDX printer.
Okay.
It's got dual independent extruders. So we just set it up, and I haven't even tested it yet. But as a test, I went ahead and printed a medallion sort of thing for you. So what I've designed, it's really simple, but it's basically a little medallion that has your name on it, Waterlog 1313, our logo, and today's date, just to commemorate your visit here.
Aww.
And so that is physically the test of this printer to see if it works, and in fact, it works.
It does. That's pretty cool.
Doing a good job.
So 2 different colors.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So again, this printer is a little unique in this room. It's the only IDX printer that we have at this time, and we're exploring some other printers and some other processes. But beyond that, we do have close to 30 printers in this room, which is again why it's a little warm in here. So they generate quite a bit of heat. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
All right.
Okay, so these are actually our 3D printers. We're actually manufacturing our random flow generator here on all of these printers. In fact, this is what's interesting because this is our smallest random flow generator. It's the tiniest one that we make, a 1/4 inch. Check that out. Right off the printer, they look really good, but this is really just the first stage of this process.
Wow.
There's about 4 of the steps beyond here before they actually make it into the package.
What?
Yeah, so we take the quality of our product very seriously, and we make sure that we check them, QC them, inspect them, fit them every step of the way, all the way before they make it out to the packaging and into the customer's hands.
Did you guys realize that there were so many steps that were involved in making one of these little guys? Bet you didn't.
Okay, so this is basically the first stage of production. After we've printed them, and we're actually going to be getting these down the line so they can be QC'd, inspected, the first stage here is a very quick inspection. So this is a product we printed today, and this is pretty typical of a half day's worth of printing, and then we'll produce twice as much of this by the end of the day. And essentially what we do is we size each piece here and we inspect them before they go into these boxes, which we use to then transport over to the QC side. And it's interesting because we keep a library of all these different plumbing parts, from Red Sea reefer tanks, 1/4 inch lock line, 3/4 inch lock line, pipes, all the pieces and parts you might find on your aquariums are here, and we size them. So we'll take this little 1/4 inch nozzle we got back over there, and we'll make sure it fits, and if it fits, it goes into a box and moves on down the line. And so, like if we want to fit these 1/2 inch nozzles, like the ones we just printed for you, the pink ones, we're going to go ahead, we make sure they fit and they have a good, they snap on right, they have a good amount of resistance on there. And that's how we check them. We also use this light here to kind of just make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to with a quick visual inspection. And everything looks good and it fits right, it goes into a box. See, that's good, it's good. We take that box and we actually will track this whole thing. It's got about 4 stages, this being the first one out of the room. And we'll actually write down here, date it, how many products are in here, different size, and then these will then go off to the QC team to the next step.
Now, I've got to ask you before we move on, approximately how many pieces do you guys print every single day? You said this is about a half day's worth.
Yeah, so we keep track of everything that we're doing on a spreadsheet here. We do this on a daily basis. So you can see today's Saturday, we've produced 173 parts today so far. But to give you an idea, like on Monday, we did 257 print hours. We produced 249 parts. So this week alone, we've done 1,275 individual parts that are going through our QC process right now.
Wow, that's impressive. And you know, what did we say? 173 right now, and as we're filming, it's barely 2 o'clock. So you still have another several hours.
Yeah. We'll probably end up the day with a little over 250 parts, whether those be nozzles or adapters or fittings. But yeah, we're producing a lot of parts in here. On average, we'll do around 200 print hours per day. But when we're really cranking this thing out, we can do as much as 350 print hours per day for a 24-hour period.
Wow.
So we'll crank out there with a lot of plastic and a lot of printing.
A lot of pieces that you're saying go through multiple inspections by hand.
Yes,
so every little piece that you guys have on your tank has been looked at
multiple times. So this is just the first stage. And so going down the line, there's going to be 3 more stops along the way to make sure that we've got a good product. And there's actually product here that will get rejected. You know, not everything off this table makes it into a box and heads down the line.
Okay.
And at every stage, we're going to reject product as well that don't meet our standards. And so again, first stage, 3 more to go. And so let's get going.
All right, come on, guys.
And so this is our QC section. This is where we take care of all the products that are coming out of the print production, and we inspect each one and we make sure that they're perfect. So we'll drop this off to the guys here. And so what they're doing here is they're taking each and every product, each item that we make, and they're inspecting it under a magnifying glass. They're using brushes and tweezers and pulling out any little debris and pieces that the print process produces, and making sure that they're as clean as they can be. But in addition to that, they're also inspecting them closely to make sure we don't have any defects or things in it that would be unacceptable. And so at this stage even, we're probably going to lose as much as 5% of the product coming out of here is never going to make it to a package.
Oh, wow.
So we'll cull some product out at the print production side, and then same thing here. If it's not up to our standards, it doesn't make it any further from this room.
It's very high standards. So what are some of the things, like, you said the different tools that they use, but what are some of the specific things that they're looking for? Like,
so they're looking, we print with a material called PETG or PETG, and it's very stringy and gooey kind of plastic. And so when it prints, it leaves little hairs behind, little pieces and parts. And
kind of
so,
like super glue? Not super glue, hot glue.
Yeah,
like it
strings sometimes. And so part of the QC process is to make sure we get rid of all the little hairs inside, the little pieces that have come off there. So they use X-Acto blades, they'll use tweezers, they'll use brushes, all kinds of tools like that to get in there and clean that stuff. And that's why we have the magnifying glasses, so they can look real close and see things that you couldn't see with just by looking at it. And there's a lot of detail in there to take a look at.
Now, I got to say that makes a lot of sense, especially if we're putting them on our aquariums. You want to make sure that there's not anything accidentally going into tanks over time. But I imagine too, it's very specific pieces, like the blades, I guess, are creating patterns, and if they're not just exact.
Exactly. So because the nozzle relies on fluid dynamics to create the effect that it does, if you've got a little obstruction in there or a piece is malformed, that can disrupt the entire process of what happens on the inside of the nozzle.
That's crazy. And something so tiny that you might not even be able to see with the naked eye.
Exactly. It can mess up the whole process, and then it doesn't do what a random flow generator does. And so before a product actually, well, not all of our products make it out of that room that we're just in and into a package. Sometimes the QC team will find something that has something they need a closer look at. And so that's where we're at right now. This is the final stage for some of these products. And so Brittany here will take these and she'll look at these very closely and do some additional work on them. And sometimes they'll still pass and sometimes they won't. So this is really kind of just the final, stop for these products. And if they make it here, then we know we got the absolute best product going into a package.
That's good to know.
Okay, so after we're done with the QC process and everything's been inspected and we're satisfied with it, we move on to the packaging side of it. And here's where we keep all of our packaging and inventory and our bags and our header cards and all the different parts. And so right now we're packaging up, what are we packaging here, Darian?
We're packaging the NJCs, the vacuum attachments.
Very nice. So very, very popular one of our newer products. And so this is going into the bag, and then she'll put the header cards on there, and then they'll go into the shipping containers, and they'll go off to the wholesalers, and hopefully you guys will go buy one.
Yes. Yes, these are fantastic for cleaning out your sumps.
Yep. And so we also have a set of our 40 millimeter. These are headed off to Germany, in fact.
Wow.
These will fit a 40 millimeter pipe on the end of it, just like our 125s, as we call them. They're our 1.5 inch pipe random flow generators.
Okay.
Same thing. So it's almost the same size, but slightly smaller. And so we maintain all kinds of products. So we've got all of our nozzles, packaging here with the bags. We have lock lines here, lots of different lock line fittings. We have all of our packaging for all of our attachments, and then over there, all of our adapters and things like that.
Wow.
And so we have to maintain inventory of all of this stuff.
That's a lot.
So I think we have, if you count all the pieces and parts, we have close to 40 SKUs that we're maintaining.
Wow. Now, I don't know about you guys that are watching this, if you were familiar with these little nozzles before, I bet you didn't realize like how large of a product line there is and really how much goes into all of this.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the final things we haven't really talked about here is how do you maintain a print farm like this? You know, we've got 30 plus printers.
That's a lot, and they're working all of the time.
Yeah, at least 16 hours a day. And so one thing that a lot of people don't realize, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but these have to be maintained, and there's always work. And when you have that many printers, there's always a printer that needs to be fixed. You know, we've got printers on the rack. Some of these are various stages of being fixed and or already fixed and ready for the line. But what's really important here is just the sheer number of pieces and spare parts that we keep on hand. So we keep everything from fully assembled hot ends, so we can just drop those right into the printers when they wear out, and they do wear out over time. I mean, it doesn't take long, but they'll wear out. And then we also keep nozzles, we keep springs, we keep all these different pieces and parts. Like you could actually be printing along, and this little $5 part could break, and that printer is completely useless.
Wow.
And these parts are hard to find.
So it makes sense
And
that
so
you
I buy
have them ready to
Yeah,
go.
I'll buy like 50 of them at a time, just because we're going to need them at some point. And so we maintain a full library of spare parts for the particular printers that we use, and this is our workbench where we repair them and keep them running.
Wow. So you must be an expert then at repair.
I've become an expert at repair on 3D printers now, and specifically on the 3D printers that we use. So every
Makes
3D printer is a little bit different, but for the most part, since we're using FDM printers, they all have similar parts to them, regardless of which brand you're using. And a lot of them will use some of the same motors and things like that. So we don't have to maintain a specific library for each of the type printers we use, but
just in general.
all of the different parts.
All right, that makes sense. Pretty cool. Now, I can't help but notice that some of these printers back here have some of the Marvel characters on there.
They
Looks
do.
like Thanos, Thor.
Yep. And so a while back, when we were starting to build up our print library, we were having trouble keeping track of all the different printers that we had. When a printer have a problem, and we had to convey that message to the next guy. And we were doing numbers, but this wasn't any fun. And so our oldest daughter at the time was helping us out, and she said, well, why don't we use characters? So she printed up these little plaques or whatever, the little printouts with the Marvel characters and gave them all names.
I like
And
it.
so we maintain that to today. So we have DC characters, we have Marvel characters, and so as we bring new printers in, they get a name, and we log it that way, and we keep track of them that way. And so, in fact, one of the very first printers we've ever purchased was one that got labeled Iron Man. And he's actually still on the rack today. He's printing right now. And it's 3.5 years later, he's been printing every day, 16 plus hours a day for 3.5 years.
Tony Stark, you can expect nothing less.
That's right.
So we've gone through this whole process and seen how they're made, but if you're not familiar with them, tell us a little bit about what they look like inside, how they work.
Yeah, so this is basically, all this effort is to produce a random flow generator. This is the only random flow device on the market that has no moving parts.
Ooh.
And it does that using an internal design that leverages fluid dynamics to randomly move the flow around the tank as it exits the nozzle. So the best way to show that is just to kind of show it to you here in this tank that we've got set up.
All right.
So take this random flow generator, and you can see that right now we're hitting just the one fan there because there's nothing on there, but you take the RFG nozzle, you drop it on the end of the return line, and it will instantly begin to randomize the flow. And all of a sudden, all of the fans are moving. They're moving at different times, at different paces, and that's because what it's doing is it's literally redirecting the flow as it exits the nozzle.
That's pretty cool.
And so we've got this very large version here. I can kind of show it to you. This is a little easier to see inside because it's definitely bigger than that one is. And so what you can see is you can see the internal design here. And so it uses a set of an internal helix connected to eductors and a jet. And those three parts work together to create a pressure imbalance inside the nozzle. And that imbalance causes the flow exiting the center to be pulled left, right, up, and down.
Oh.
And so it almost acts like a 5-channel nozzle where it has 5 individual channels and only one channel is active at a time. So flow exits the nozzle left, and then it will go up, and then it will go down, and it will go left, and it will go right, but only in one direction at a time. And that's where the word random comes from. It's a random flow. There's nothing inside the nozzle that dictates which way it should go next.
Huh.
And in fact, the turbulence it creates in the aquarium is what actually facilitates the randomness of it.
Oh.
And it causes it to be more random.
Huh. Wow.
It's really
That's
tricky.
pretty cool. It's amazing, like something so simple, especially on the outside, you would have no idea that. I guess there's so much.
There's a
It's
lot of
garbage.
things going on the inside here that cause this to happen and it cause the effect to work. And we work very hard to kind of dial this in and get it to the point where you just pop it on and it works every time. And you know, it's definitely unique.
I would say so.
And as we talked about, we did print something special for you in your aquarium.
Thank you.
And so if you give me a minute here, I'm gonna switch this out. Now, I've only done this one at a time before, so let's see if I can do it again. So
All right.
let me try this here.
That looks a little bit big.
I don't think it's gonna work. Okay, let's concentrate. 1, 2, 3. Ah, wow, there we go. I wish they all printed that fast. But anyways, here, I'm gonna put that in the package for you.
That is going to be perfect on my nano tank. You know, my coral's been growing like crazy, and I needed to get some varied flow in my tank, so this is going to be awesome. Thank
Well, there you
so
go.
much.
Just for you.
Oh, thanks.
There you go. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me and letting me get the first scoop and see everything in your new building and see how it's made. This is absolutely
Well,
fascinating.
we loved having you, so thanks
you.
for coming by.